ahead. Good morning. Pura Vida. Welcome to this week's Dharma Talk. And thank you for joining us here at beautiful Bali Rika and on the internet. We don't have Lisa to do our early meditation, so I'm going to give you a quick 3-minute silent moving from outlook to insight, peace, quiet, stillness and science, and stillness and quiet, silence. And I thought I would open it with Ram Dass's definition of mindfulness meditation. The Dharma, you'll find out, always has little hidden challenges. And this is one. His meditation is rest in loving awareness. Now, generally speaking, the challenge here is to be wide awake and resting at the same time. It's one of the things that we learn when we take up meditation. We're not used to, if we get still and silent, we tend to drift off and go to sleep or whatnot. So to keep a really sharp awareness of what's going on, at the same time to let go of all your cares and concerns and go to your place of peace and quiet within, is a bit tricky. But we're going to try it for 3 minutes when Sharon hits the dinger for us. Okay, Jeff is going to give the talk this morning. Take a second and move the camera.
Morning, everyone.
Morning.
We have a lot of new people back, and so we have been. I would say the last 6 weeks we have been on an interesting journey with our topics here. It started with being curious about how you would possibly do detached involvement. And it's evolved into going back to the basics of the Buddha's teachings, which are the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path, which we're going to spend time on today. But to review a little bit about where we've been, and those of you who've been here, this will be review, but for some of you, this will be new. We've given a new set of words to the Four Noble Truths. We're not going to change what the Buddha taught, but we, looking at it, and this was from a talk that Ruthie gave about 3 weeks ago. The first noble truth, taught by the Buddha after his enlightenment, said that suffering is inevitable in life. It's an observation by the Buddha, based on life as it really is, not as we would hope it would be or we would fantasize. This is all, as most Buddhist teachings, this is all reality-based stuff. That's why we call our group Everyday Buddhism, because if you practice some of the things that we're talking about, it will be transformative. The first noble truth is that suffering is inevitable. That's the observation. The second is an analysis of why we suffer. And there are 5, and I'm going to say 3, and Ruthie will, as usual, give me the last 2. Grasping, clinging, craving, ignorance, delusion. Those are the 5 things in the second noble truth that say this is an analysis of why we suffer. We can play games with life and are deluded about the reality of it. We can just not be in tune in our minds and be ignorant of things. We can cling, we can grasp, we can crave, and we think that these are solutions. And actually, they're problems. So we suffer in the analysis of it because of those 5 things. The third noble truth has to do with volition, has to do with choice. The choice being that suffering is inevitable and yet optional.
Pain is inevitable. Suffering is optional.
Pain is inevitable.
That's what I forgot to say.
Yes, we were talking about this last week. So this is where choice comes in. So you observe, you analyze, you choose, and then finally the fourth noble truth is the Eightfold Path, which means here we act. All of the steps, to be honest with you, are action. To observe is to act. Not too soon on the, I'm going to do something about this, but that you observe, you analyze, you choose, and you act. The Buddha was especially systematic about all this. An early scientist, an early philosopher. Ruthie talked a little bit about what Buddhism is. Is it a religion? Yes and no. Is it a philosophy?
Yes.
Yes.
And no.
And no. And is it self-help? Yes. And the beautiful thing about Buddhism that I especially enjoy, having come from a more strict religious background in my past, is that you can pick and choose here. There's no dogma attached to Buddhism. You don't to be in with the Buddhists. You don't have to buy into much of this.
No, you don't pledge allegiance or anything.
Nothing. There's no membership. There's no fees. There's nothing. You don't join, but you can use what is available from the Buddhist teachings to help your mind to convert and to transform.
Can I say something?
You always can.
I know, I always interrupt you. The Dalai Lama has said often, there is no one evangelizes in Buddhism. They don't try and convert anybody into anything. The way he has expressed it is that we turn to the Dharma, Buddhism, not to become Buddhist, but simply to become better at whatever we were to start with. So you can carry your Buddhist studies directly into any other religion, and there will be differences, but it does not argue with the differences because there's no dogma. But it's true. That's why Buddhism has been such a lovely interfaith.
So it's a buffet. Help yourself.
Yep.
What looks good on the buffet, take it. What doesn't look good on the buffet, leave it. So I want to go. That's kind of the background. One other thing about detached involvement, and you can ponder this on your own time because we've been pondering it, and I still am, because this is for me feels complicated, even though it's quite simple. Is that in life you become both fully awake and involved, and an observer of your life. That you do that simultaneously. When you do that simultaneously, it's interesting the world that opens to you. It's a different world than the one that you came from before. And so these first two in the Eightfold Path, right understanding, right view, and right intention, both have something to do with that. And so I want to spend some time with those two, and then we're going to go through the Eightfold Path. These are called the wisdom steps, the first two. Ruthie talked for a while on the lead-in. It really felt like a lead-in to the Eightfold Path.
It really is.
We also did a very interesting week, spending a lot of time talking about the gap between things, and that's where the energy comes from. We don't have time today to do that again, but this is all where we've been, so you're all a little bit caught up. It's been actually quite new for this group to see these things in this way currently. So even though the group's been together for 5 years, this feels like another digging in by the group. So right understanding is the first of the middle way on the Eightfold Path. So if you get this, the fourth noble truth is the Eightfold Path. These are all action steps by the Buddha. If you act, something will change. So they are symbolized by a wheel, the wheel of a ship. And then on each of the spokes on the wheel is one of the Eightfold Path. And what's really interesting in my reading and studying about this is suggestions on how to have a tranquil voyage in your life. So there's a literalness to the wheel. By the way, you're the captain of the ship. You're the captain of your ship, according to this. And if you practice these things, interestingly, you will evolve more and more and better at having a tranquil life away from being reactive to the inevitable dramas.
If you were to start the Eightfold Path with your analogy,
Mm-hmm.
You could say you got your hand on that first spoke, the first of the spokes,
Yeah.
and you're saying to yourself, steady as she goes.
Exactly. Exactly. And the goal is to have a smooth, tranquil voyage in life. I have to say, given the circumstances in our world, there's nothing all that tranquil going on.
Oh, it's awful.
It's a very reactive time in the whole world. Politics, pandemics, what other P's can we do? There's many. Power, war,
Global disaster.
leaving war, all of those things. And yet, there's a line that runs through that encourages us to be the captain of our ship and to have a tranquil voyage. It also, as a therapist, says that you are not the captain of someone else's ship. Sad as that is, we are not captain of someone else's ship. They are the captain of their ship. If they want to run the ship tranquilly, awesome. You can be in the harbor next to each other and it'll all be fine. However, there are people that don't want to live a tranquil ship and they might be right in the harbor next to you, wherever your life is. This is about how to stay tranquil. So the first one is called, of the two wisdom steps at the beginning, is called right understanding. And the word right really, to me, seems to have a couple of modern connotations. Not right and wrong, but actually healthy and balanced. Skillful, healthy, and balanced understanding. It's really good that this is the start, because without a skillful understanding about how to run the ship, we're going to sink. And so the right understanding is perfect at the beginning. Sometimes people call this right vision, to have the right sight. And simply put, in a summary fashion, most of the people who write about this right understanding say that you begin to understand the basic teachings of the Buddha. It's as simple as that. That if you want right understanding, start to intersect your thoughts with the thoughts of the Buddha, especially the basic ones, especially at the beginning. And if you understand the Buddha's teachings, it means to stand close to the Buddha. Let the influence be personal. Let it be intimate. The beautiful thing, as you see in the Buddha statues, is there's little harm that comes from the Buddha when you come close to his teachings. Also, just so you all know, if any of you are kind of newcomers to this, and that is, the Buddha is not a Messiah. Never claimed to be. One of my favorite things is he said, "I am not the moon. I am a finger pointing at the moon." And so when you come close to the Buddha, you come close to that finger pointing at a tranquil life. No worship needed, really no statues needed, no shrines, no mosques, no bowing down to the Buddha. The Buddha wasn't interested in that. He was interested in that you had a tranquil life. And from the history of Buddha himself, he had a tranquil life away from the difficulties of society by being a wealthy by being a wealthy person kept away from society. And then when he saw it, he was overwhelmed initially at the suffering and the pain that he saw. So to have a right understanding is to stand or be close so that you can get to know it well. When I started with Ruthie, I did not know what those Four Noble Truths are. Now I've said them enough times. I still need a little prompting. But now that I know them, it's my job to move into really understanding them. So this right understanding has three parts to it. Oh, that's right intention. Sorry, I'm going to back up. Right understanding is to cultivate qualities of mind which allow for a complete and realistic worldview. So to right understanding is not otherworldly. It's not Disney. It's real life. And to have an understanding is to know how to really live your life tranquilly. It is also connected to the idea of impermanence. I really like how this connection works. So how right understanding is connected to impermanence is we are always evolving. What you thought 5 years ago is not where you are now. The reality of life is that it changes and we change all along the way. And the only trouble is sometimes we just like to drop anchor. Sometimes we have to just drop anchor for a while. But the reality about the impermanence of change is that if we fight it, it will fight us. It will come at us in powerful ways until we realize that we have to change. So the right understanding is connected to the idea that everything evolves. What is true today might not be true tomorrow. That's what's different about it from other religions. This is an evolving system. And as we have an openness and a right understanding, we realize that we have to have a quality of openness. Openness to our thoughts changing. Openness to someone else with a different viewpoint. Because there might be something that we might gain from that. Rather than fight them, listen to them. This is difficult in the current world. Everything is polarized. And yet what this is asking you to do is to be fully involved in the world as it is. So, to develop right understanding, I have 10 things. I borrowed these. I didn't come up with them. That we would live our life with direct experience of our life versus living with secondhand information. That's a right understanding. That we live our lives with the experience of our lives firsthand. Second, that we have few preconceived ideas. The fewer, the better. We don't spend much time jumping to conclusions. We let the process have its way. Being open to different explanations. Take time to draw conclusions. Be willing to change our opinion when the facts contradict it. Perfect one for the current state of mind in the world. Not mistaking a part of the truth for the whole truth. Listening to others. Paying careful attention and cultivating a peaceful mind. This is a foreign language that I'm speaking right now, even though it's English. To have right understanding is to view the world very differently than the current flow. And that's why it's so transformative. It's personally and interpersonally and whole world transformative. The other thing that is not on this list, but I was thinking about it as I was thinking about right understanding, is how do we get it? Where does it come from? Of course, it comes from the teachings of the Buddha, but we have to be willing to be mentored. We have to be willing to sit under someone who knows more about this than us. I'm going to give you a compliment.
Yeah.
Ruthie is my mentor.
No. Pity
You,
you.
No. Take it for what it is.
Okay.
And those things, I would not be drawn to this and as interested in studying this and living it had it not been for Ruthie as my mentor. I think some of you feel that same way. I'm 5 years into this. She's 65 years into it. Why wouldn't she be my mentor?
Okay. I'll take it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So if we want to have a right understanding, we have to become a student. We have to know more questions than answers. The right understanding is meant to be personal, interpersonal, but it's also meant to be worldly. So if you practice these things, the energy in the world changes. The energy in your world changes. The energy within you changes. I love the evolution of the Franciscans in the Catholic tradition. St. Francis said this, you see if this fits with right understanding. Make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me bring love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. Where there is sadness, joy. The magic of the Buddhist way of thinking is it transforms things. Negative energy is still energy, but put into the right transformer, it becomes productive and useful in our lives. Do you want to add anything to that?
Very good.
So right understanding at the basics, and I'm going to go to the other one about right intention. At the basics is that we come near to the Buddhist teachings. That means we spend some time thinking and practicing it. Right intention is the second of the two paths. And right intention means being committed that we will learn from the Dharma. That our intention is three things. One, we will give up what hasn't worked for us. They use a big word that we rarely use, renunciation. So to have the right intentions, you have to give up something. It's always true. To gain something new, you have to make space for the new. And therefore, some of the things that have not been productive, not useful, not healthy, not right for you have to be set aside. So to have a right intention and thoughts means that we need to let go of some of the old ways. Not all of them. Some of them are good and instructive and clear and pure. So we give up to have the right intention in our thoughts. And I do the second two in a different order than you do, Ruthie, but I'm going to do it in my order. The second is the intention of harmlessness.
No harm.
That we change our thinking, our intentions towards doing no harm. Those things that have been harmful to us and from us, we're seeking to let go of those, put them behind. And that when you have an intention for harmlessness, there is room for compassion, which is the third one, that you intend to do goodwill, that you not only don't do harm, but your intent in the world is to goodwill to yourself, to others, to the world. There's no room for foul talk. There's no room for hanging with negative energy. There's no room for the old stories, the old drama. It has had its place, and now it is in your evolution unproductive. So when you intend to do goodwill, you practice what we will do at the end of our talk today, and that is you practice active loving kindness. And the result of practicing loving kindness is this, the bottom line of Buddhism: happiness. The goal of all these Buddhist teachings is a tranquil happiness. However, nice ideas, difficult to put into practice. One of the things we've been talking about, I'm going to deviate for a minute here, is when feelings arise, what do we do with them when they are harmful, negative, when those feelings arise? Buddhists have a very interesting, practical, and in theory, accurate way of dealing with this. Better than some psychologists, to be honest with you, and that's my field. And that is, when an emotion comes, let it rise. Observe it. What arises will fall. In the falling of the intensity of the emotion comes your chance for analysis and choice. If you choose while the emotion is on the rise, it's just like a bad email that you shouldn't have sent. And so in this intention of goodwill, when we don't feel like goodwill, when someone has done us harm, when we have a history and a story with people who have hurt us, or we have expectations of circumstances and people and they don't meet them, observe the rise of the feeling, let it fall, and on the other side is the gap by which what you should choose and what you will do. It is. It will present itself to you in the calm and the tranquility of the afterglow. So this right intention is really to resolve to I'm willing to give up what doesn't work, what is harmful. I'm willing to not do harm anymore. There's very little, it strikes me, there's very little guilt and shame in Buddhism. It's like, it was what it was. Now you see that it didn't work, or that you're suffering because of it. There's nothing like a good grudge, because if you want to continue to suffer, keep the grudge.
Yeah, hang on to that.
Everybody else has moved on, but you're still stuck with the grudge. You got the poison pill and you swallowed it. And so at that point, the goal in that is not to guilt and shame that, but that was what it was. That was the reality. Again, going back to the real reality, but that was the reality. And the new reality is, I don't want to do that kind of harm, and I want to practice loving kindness to myself, to others, to the world. It's really lovely stuff. One other parallel. The Eightfold Path, step 2, right intention, is changing our thinking. Step number 3 that we will get to is about right speaking, healthy speaking. Number 4 is healthy action. Those are the 3 things that lead us to good karma in our life. A karma that leads us to being a more enlightened person. Right intentions, right way of thinking, a transformed way of thinking, a transformed way of speaking, a transformed way of acting in the world. You can think all these things, but if you don't act differently, what's the point? So I'm going to end with what is a great Buddhist parable. And then you can have your inputs about this. There was a grandfather speaking to his grandson, wanting to teach him some lessons in life. So the grandfather says to the grandson, there's a good wolf in you, there's a bad wolf in you. The good wolf wants to win, the bad wolf wants to win. So the grandfather stops, the grandson is actually listening. So the grandson's thinking about what he just said, and he said, so which one wins? And the grandfather quietly says to him, the one you feed. So if you want to have a right understanding and right intention, you have to feed yourself that. And goodness will follow, happiness will follow, lack of less suffering will follow. But if you feed the bad wolf, the same suffering, craving, grasping, clinging, delusion, ignorance. It's just waiting for you again. So choose to feed the good wolf. What comments and questions do you have?
That was excellent. Thank you, Chief.
You're welcome. I like this one.
Very good. Yeah.
What thoughts do you have as I was presenting that? Comments, questions? Anyone?
That was a really wonderful overview of what we've been over and over and over. Really succinct.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I've been thinking a lot these last weeks about what all this means. Someone else. For those of you that are new, anything alarming here? Anything appetizing?
One of the things that you did today that we've been seeing quite regularly, but you did it well, is you took the fractal art of Buddhism And so you can go into these things and you can just keep following that, and more keeps unfolding and unfolding, but it's related to the initial topic.
Always.
And
it
then,
circles
yeah,
back.
exactly. And then so you bring yourself out of that one and you bring your focus into something else. And like the fractal arc, it just keeps expanding and expanding and expanding, but then you can bring it back. The truths remain absolutely the same. How far you dive into them and dwell well into them is up to you, but they're always going to loop back to those Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path.
Yes.
You explained that well today. Thank you.
Thank you. I in this group, and those of you watching too, we just go back to the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path a lot, because without those basics, the rest, we can go into all kinds of and we have gone into some very interesting, controversial Buddhist topics. Where people are like, "What does that mean?" And those things. But we continue to filter back here, and each time I think it's like a little layer of the onion. We get deeper in it, and I think I personally do, and I know your life has been changed by these teachings.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, the Buddha did have a discourse.
You can take your mask off. I'll
Yeah,
put mine on.
I'm talking.
Go ahead.
His throat's bothering. He did have a discourse that very specifically said that the Four Noble Truths are the one thing that are stable through all of your studies, and for any form of Buddhism, because there are many forms. But it always comes back to the first two Noble Truths and the Four Noble Truths. So you really have to keep circling back to that. And the challenge still remains that I had with the third Noble Truth, which is the cessation of suffering. And you have the right to change your mind and to train your mind and just reschedule it and everything else by choice. The problem is with a choice is not being sure. It's difficult to have certainty. So you have a lot of doubts about your choices. So then you have to rely on all the other teachings to get you where, you can make the right choice on that one. But,
it's an evolution.
Yeah.
Yes. Any other comments?
One of the things that you pointed out that touched upon, and which is really kind of the nut of it all, is to be aware of your actions in life. And that is such a game changer. Remember to remember, be aware of, to be aware, to catch yourself. And it can really free you up of a lot of anguish and mistakes, and something that is a phrase that's come up before is, and this is about the world in general, is that it's difficult for us to just sit back and watch out as things unfold, because there is it's a lot of things that are just not settled in the world at all now.
Mm-hmm.
But if you can remember to be of this world, or I'm sorry, to be in this world, but not of it, that you can stand back and just observe, is something that will take you a long way, and really would help the world greatly if people could live that.
Yeah. Those first two and those four steps that I was talking about observation and then about analysis, interestingly, the things we traditionally think of as the real action, the choice, and then the follow-up, what we do with it, and those things, actually the action, if you're going to be in a good spot and do the next healthy thing, starts much earlier than that, with transforming, being willing to observe, being willing to analyze, being willing to change. That was my viewpoint yesterday. Is it my viewpoint today? That's actually, this is quite, that idea, what I just said now is really alarming. It's really alarming because we like to keep our most potent.
No clinging.
Yeah. We like to keep our most potent thoughts. And that we're right. And this is saying it's broader than that. And we need to be more open than that. But you're absolutely right about the observation piece of this. It is the nut of the thing. It's where it all starts.
Right. Awareness. Number one. But for example, that word guru, I really shy away from that. Because Buddhism is all about you being your own guru. And what little I have to offer may not be what you need at a given time. Mm-hmm. It's just a matter of passing along our own personal experiences in dealing with the Dharma. Mm-hmm. And there is no intercession. There's no cavalry coming over the hill. There's no wise person who can save you from yourself. This is all pretty much dig in and do it yourself project. Mm-hmm. So what we call gurus tend to want to become charismatic leaders that control the people that are listening to them. And even the Dalai Lama, which Tibetan Buddhism, the highest form of Tibetan Buddhism, is guru oriented. But even the Dalai Lama says, don't go there. Take something from it, but don't ever get caught. This first teaching is to be skeptical, healthy skepticism. And he says flat out, don't take anything on blind faith from anybody, including me. Try it, practice it with goodwill, and it will tell you whether it's for you or not. And it generally is. Anyway, that's why I act all funny when that word comes up. We're all gurus to somebody, It's passing this along.
Even the Buddha didn't want to be a guru to anybody.
No, he said he was not.
He said, I'm not that.
I just give you the benefit of my,
of my enlightenment.
That's right. There you go. But
I think we should do loving kindness.
Okay, so that hour's all gone by awfully fast.
It did go by fast.
Okay, we have newcomers. So, loving kindness. This is the intention of goodwill. The Buddha doesn't say on a specific level that you have to act as if everybody is the same. There are people who are held in higher esteem. But no matter what a person does or what a person is, by virtue of being a human being, a sentient being, they are objects of loving kindness. So we're going to choose 5 people. Yourself is the first one. The second one is someone you love very much. The third one is a neutral person, someone that you see a lot or have met many times, but you really aren't close to them. If you don't know his or her name, address them as friend. The fourth is the person with whom you are in conflict. And the 5th and final round of loving kindness is to all sentient beings on all planes, because the Buddha said it's quite possible there are universes within universes within universes out there. So we don't stop at any place. It's just generic. So I'm going to say a phrase, and you say it to yourself quietly, and try and just let yourself sink into the feelings it arouses. Okay? to yourself. May I be well. May no harm come to me. May I live with ease. That's equanimity, balance, poise. May I live with ease, calm and peaceful. May I be happy. And now, bring to mind someone you love with all your heart. Look at that person, smile to them, say their name. May you be well. May no harm come to you. May you live with ease, calm and peaceful. May you be happy. Then we move to our neutral person. Smile. May you be well. May no harm come to you. May you live with ease, calm and peaceful. May you be happy. Now we move farther away to a person with whom we are in conflict. It can be a person who is living or dead, close to us and familiar, or a distant person. Someone in the news, listen to my throat. Bring that person's face to mind. May you be well. May no harm come to you. May you live with ease, calm and peaceful. May you be happy. Let the good feelings of goodwill liberate you from the animosity. And now, because I'm going to address everybody. We put our hands over our hearts. We think of all the billions of people on this planet, plus who knows how many out there. And we say, may all beings everywhere, on this plane and all other planes, be well. May all beings everywhere be safe. May all beings everywhere be free from suffering. May all beings everywhere be happy. Now we let that feeling sink in. If you're at home, you can sit quietly for a long time with this. And now we release our hands. We bring our hands into prayer position and we'll close with these words. Go in peace. Go making peace. Living gently. Loving mightily. And bowing to the mysteries. Okay. Thanks, guys. We'll see you.